Hey, what's up, guys? Yags here, and I think it's about time that we talked about the Denver Nuggets, all right? Jokic is playing out of his mind, but I feel like it's really the defense that's caught my eye this year, especially at the beginning of the season. For 5 years straight, we've known that the Nuggets are a extremely good offensive team. They just motion-wise, movement, chemistry, everybody's locked in. They really have a feel for each other on that team. But I feel like for the first couple of games, the small sample size of 14 games that we've had for the Denver Nuggets this year, they're really suffocating teams, right? I feel like opponents, they're not just, missing shots. I feel like they're actually feeling the pressure of a top-rated defense in the league. So this isn't the same Denver Nuggets that we are accustomed to. But what's really changed for them coming into this year? So like I said, for half a decade, we've known the Nuggets to be one of the best offensive teams in the league. 21, sixth best offense. 22, they had injuries and still finished inside the top 10 in offensive rating. 23, finished as the fifth best offense. 24, the fifth best offense again. And then last season, they finished as the fourth best offense with an offensive rating of 118.9 per 100 possessions. And everything starts with Nikola Jokic. Okay? The man is brilliant. He, to me, is one of the best centers of all time already. You can rank him wherever you want. I mean, the guy is just an extremely high level, high IQ basketball player. He plays unselfishly. He always keeps the ball moving. He does everything for that team, and that team just completely revolves around him. And we've seen that on the opposite side of the ball, right? 5 years of just flat out offensive dominance from the Nuggets. But the defense hasn't always been up to par with the offense. So 2021, the 12th best defense. 2022, the 15th. 2023, the title year, the 15th. 2024, they actually got inside the top 10, finishing as the 8th best defense. But then last year, it was just completely miserable, right? They finished as the 21st best defense. So the bottom half of the NBA, and just 1 year finishing inside the top 10. And I feel like last year for the playoff series against the Oklahoma City Thunder is where they really struggled, especially in that game 7. Because I mean, their offense was great, but the OKC defense was also fantastic. And when they actually got to play against each other, I felt like the OKC defense was just faster, they were longer, they were more disciplined, they were more physical, and they ended up closing out game 7 by just being tougher defensively. To be honest, right? I really felt like the Nuggets had no match on the defensive side of the ball. And maybe if they did, they could actually won that series. So coming into this year, I felt like they were going to make a change. They started making the change, I mean, last year, right, when they fired Mike Malone a couple games before the regular season ended, and, giving David Adelman, his longtime assistant, and really the offensive architect behind the Denver Nuggets offense, the interim head coach job. And when they made that move, to me, I really thought, I mean, the Nuggets are done for, right? The Clippers were playing really good basketball at the time. Kawhi was playing lights out. And I actually had the Clippers beating the Denver Nuggets in that round 1. They ended up beating the Clippers in the 7-game series, which was one of the best series in the playoffs. And they actually took the future champions to a game 7. I mean, props to David Adelman for the little time that he had as the head coach. But I felt like even coming into preseason, they really had a defensive first mindset, aggression, physicality, scheme built coming into this year. And we've seen that, right? For the first 14 games, the Nuggets are currently sitting as the 3rd best defense in the league with a defensive rating of 110.5, behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Detroit Pistons. They're currently 6th in opponent field goal percentage at 45, and they're 1st in opponent three-point percentage at 31.2. So just going back to David Adelman here, I felt like, after he took really the reins of that team, he already started switching it up a little bit, really having Jokic play more of some drop coverage going into the playoffs. They even played some zone against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and like I said, took that series to 7 games. And then in the offseason, they hired Jared Dudley to come in to really run the defense and oversee, be the defensive architect for that team. And Jared Dudley, for those of you that don't know, 14-year vet, he was always more of a role player, but I mean, had a lot of years in the league. He was a champion with the Los Angeles Lakers. So, I mean, the guy knows ball, right? And really, behind the Mike Malone system, from what I see, Mike Malone really had Jokic play a lot more up on screens throughout his career, right? We all know that Jokic is not a rim protector whatsoever. I would say he's almost non-athletic without, really dogging him on that. But you all know how Jokic plays, right? So I really felt like Mike Malone just had him play a lot more up on screens, just up in touch, kind of hedge a little more, trying to force the ball out of the main playmaker's hands. And the league adjusts over time. If you do the same thing over and over a bunch of seasons, they're just good at that. It's really good professionals. Everybody watches tape and whatnot. And I feel like for this year, they're really tailor-making a defense around Jokic's brain, to be honest, and his matchups on a night-to-night basis. So I mean, some nights he'll play up, up to touch, he'll hedge. Some nights he will play in drop coverage, and when he does play drop or play more near the rim, he's really good at reading passing lanes, manipulating space, and just forcing defenses to make slower decisions than they would, because he's such a high IQ player. And I also feel like they've put a lot of emphasis in training their wings to defend with a lot more physicality, which we didn't really have a history of that on the Denver Nuggets, and just being really more aggressive at the point of attack and just forcing the primary ball handlers. And I feel like, the main points for these guys, and especially Christian Braun, which they give the contract to in the offseason, and then Peyton Watson's really played a big role also this year with that new scheme, that new approach that they're taking. And I feel like they kind of borrowed a page out of the Oklahoma City Thunder playbook, which is really playing right up on your face, right? Collapsing the paint, and then just recovering to shooters and not letting, and just closing out on absolutely every single shot. And even if we remember the game 7 from last year, I mean, Alex Caruso, he was guarding Jokic some plays. I mean, he was playing with a lot of aggression. He was not letting him be comfortable and just keep doing whatever he does and just completely taking over the game through his passes. But in terms of this whole point of attack thing, of course, they're not going to press all 82 games, right? That's impossible. You're going to wear out your players, when you get all the way to the playoffs. But having them play somewhat more aggressive, and maybe even press sometimes during the games, just to have their muscle memory get used to it as they get into the second half of the season, March, April, May, and so on. But just from these 14 games that we've seen, they look sharper, they look hungrier, they're more deliberate, and just it feels like they actually want to play defense this year. And I mean, even the personnel, the moves that they made in the offseason, right? They brought in Cam Johnson. He was more of a major offseason addition in the blockbuster trade with Michael Porter Jr. His offense is still finding its rhythm, right? He's not played good on offense. His field goal percentage is at 39%. His three-point percentage is at 29%. I mean, not good offensively, but in terms of defense, so good, right? He fits multiple schemes. He can switch basically in all 5 spots of the court. He's also a really high IQ player, and he's really good on weak side reads. So, I mean, he's one of the best assets that they brought in to play alongside Jokic. And as soon as he finds his offense, he's going to be really good. I am not worried about Cam Johnson whatsoever. You gave the contract to Christian Braun, right? He stepped into a bigger role after KCP left. And then this year you pay him, and as a full-time starter for the last couple of years, he brings in energy, athleticism. He's a scrappy guy, and he will give you ball pressure. He navigates screens really well. He will take on, the tougher matchups, especially when it's in the backcourt. And I feel like he's a solid player. He's turned into a very solid player for the Denver Nuggets. Peyton Watson, like I said, has played a really big part in this year's defense. He'll give you basically 2 stocks a game, maybe a block, maybe a steal, 2 steals, whatever. He's really versatile. He's a really lanky guy. He's super long, and he's another guy, that can come in, guard the best player. He actually had a really good game yesterday against the Pelicans, where he dropped his career high 32 points, if I'm not mistaken. Then even Aaron Gordon, man. Aaron Gordon, who's really found himself again in the NBA after going to the Denver Nuggets. And this year, even the preseason, he gave an interview saying that he was just going to completely focus on defense. Right? So, I mean, having your main players verbalize that, it feels like it's a complete culture shock and culture change for that Denver Nuggets team, right? When you have not only role players, but stars that want to defend, and then you just have the mastermind behind everything, which is Jokic, controlling everybody on the offensive end and just making everybody play better. I mean, that is a recipe for success, no doubt about it. And when we look at this year, they are the 2nd best offense in the league, right? And as I said in the beginning of the video, they're the 3rd best behind the Thunder and the Pistons. There's only 2 teams that are top 5 on both ends of the floor. That's the Nuggets, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just snuck into the top 5 by 0.1 on offensive rating, just edging out the Boston Celtics. So currently they're sitting at 11-3, right? They were on a 7-game win streak before the loss to the Bulls. And I know it's a small sample size, but if they can stay inside the top 10 or even maybe that top 5, Denver is in prime position for a serious championship run, and they will be a problem for the Oklahoma City Thunder, okay? I feel like at this point, they might be the only team that can actually beat OKC, if I'm being very frank. And they're not just that I will score more than you team. I really feel like this year, they're coming out with the, I can shut you down. I will shut your team down. You guys will not score. And the way they're going, it feels like they're actually going to be able to make a deep playoff push again for the first time since their title run in 23, right? But guys, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of this Denver team? Do you guys think that they can actually compete, especially with the Oklahoma City Thunder? Where do you guys put him in, in your power rankings for the NBA teams? Let me know. As always, if you enjoyed the content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Trying to hit those 1,000 subscribers. It really helps me out. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.